Okay, so let's say you've never made music before. You might just be a fan of my music and you just are interested. You might not even know if you want to make music, but this has interested you in some way. So to make music, you will need a DAW. That's a digital audio workstation. You have Cubase, you have Pro Tools, which is what I use. You have Ableton, there's Logic, which is super great as well. I used to use Logic. I think that's great for let's say you want GarageBand, you can use GarageBand. T-Pain made I'm in Love with a Stripper on GarageBand. There's great stuff in GarageBand. But for this example, we're using Pro Tools, so I'm just gonna quickly breeze through all the important stuff that you might need to know about if you wanna make music. So we have a blank session here in Pro Tools. This is what I'm using. We're gonna go to Track, New. And let's say we wanna get a piano sound. Let's make an instrument track. That makes sense because piano is an instrument, so we're going to set up an instrument track. I have one of my favorite keyboards loaded up in this program called Keyscape, which is available for purchase from Spectrasonics, which is an amazing company that makes great keyboard sounds. And then you have a list here in this particular plugin, acoustic pianos. Let's just go with the first one. You hit record, and bam, there's Signal. You have some piano right away. And let's say you want to record that piano. Well, you go up to your tempo here. You think of a tempo you want in your head. That happens to be 100, what I'm thinking of. You just type it in. So we have our instrument track. Now, let's say we want to record our piano. Go to track again, and right here at the very, very end, we have create click track. I'm not sure how to do it in Ableton, but this is how you do it in Pro Tools. And then you suddenly have a click track. We're recording at 100 BPM. You hit record, play, and just lay some chords down. So this is what we just recorded. And if you look super closely, naturally you're not going to be right on it, but maybe you want to be on beat. So you hit it, right click it, MIDI properties. This is called quantization. It's just a fancy word meaning that all the rhythm is going to be perfect. You hit it, you put it to, say, an eighth, let's say a fourth quarter note. And now if you look at the MIDI, it's all perfectly lined up. If you want to repeat that, just drag it like you do when you're copy and pasting text. And I'll just show you copy and then paste. And then there it is. And then you start to have a loop. You can write over this. So to loop what you just played, meaning just play it over and over again while you concentrate on thinking of some lyrics and some melodies, all you do is highlight this little section right here, press loop play, it'll loop, and you can walk around your room and sing little melodies and whatever comes to mind. So let's say then I wanted to change one tiny note in the second chord, but I really loved the way that I played it and I didn't want to play it again. Well, you can double click it and then a new window will pop up. Let's say if I wanted that C to be a D. Well, now you can change the entire chord just by dragging the piano roll. So let's make that a D. Let's see. And maybe I wanted to drag that down and make it this, but I wanted to add one more note. So what you do is you hit Option, you hit this piano roll button here, and bam, you have another note right next to it. And now you have a cluster chord. Or you can just replay it, but it's sometimes fun to just have it recorded and set in stone and then just move it at your fingertips. If you're using FL, that's how you would do your drums. So now we have our instrument recorded, we have it lined up to the grid on Pro Tools. Let's add some effects to it right now. You could go to your favorite reverb plugin. Let's use Deverb, because that comes with Pro Tools. Now you have a piano that sounds kind of far away. You can mess with the little knobs here. You don't really have to know exactly what's going on, but this is the decay knob. You can make that super long, and then it sounds really crazy. Bring it down to 300 milliseconds, and it's barely noticeable. You could then go to a delay if you wanted it to sound like even more reverby. Put a delay plugin right on it. And all the effects you add onto your instrument, it's just inspiring you to come up with more stuff. It's just, it makes the piano, which started out pretty simple, it made it a little bit more interesting to your ear. And it might inspire you to then put some drums in or whatnot. There's so much you can do. You have a lot of insert plugins. What else could you do here? You could put a little phaser on here. Let's go to, I think that's in, yeah, let's put a flanger. This comes with Pro Tools too. I use this, these Air plugins. Air Flanger. Kind of 90s sounding. Let's say I don't like that tempo anymore. You want it to go to 120. Well, lucky for us, it speeds up and it's MIDI. It's not recorded audio, so it's not, you're not going to have any like stretchy sounds or anything like that. It'll be set in stone just as if you recorded it at that tempo. You can make it 150 even. The possibilities are endless. So you have your piano track recorded. Now let's say you wanted to put some drums in. If you don't have a subscription to Splice, I think it's a wonderful community where people share sounds, and I've made a lot of great songs with Splice. One of my favorite packs is the Big Head pack. I love these kick drums. I love number 3. You just simply drag and drop. I always commit, you don't have to do this, but I always commit the sound, which is Option Shift 3, and that just keeps the sound in there. If you were to send the session to another producer to work on and they might not have the Big Head kick sound on their computer, then it locks it in. So I've dragged my kick right here, and we're at 150. We're kind of fast. Let's put it back to 120. Let's say you want like a dancey kind of song. You want that to be 4 on the floor, which would be this. You just copy and paste like you did with the MIDI. It doesn't sound, what I'm making right now doesn't sound amazing, but I'm sure what you're making will sound much, much better. But actually doesn't sound too bad. Let's say, yeah, that's good, but now I kind of want a little hi-hat. So Splice is such an amazing tool. All you have to do is type in hi-hat and see what comes up. The sound of Italio disco. I like it. Let's drag this sample in. And you typically want your hi-hat to go double time. So if your kick's going bum, 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 you want your hi-hat to maybe go tss, 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 tss. So you just, like you did with the kick, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So now you have your kick on top of your hi-hat. The hi-hat sound is pretty loud right now. Right here or in your mixing window, I just recommend using this right here if you're in Pro Tools. It's just a little easier. Just take the volume down a little bit to where you feel it sounds good. I think it sounds good there. So then naturally you need a snare or a clap. Let's use a clap. Let's be fun. We're getting a good clap. Here, this one's good. This little bell clap here. Just drag and drop, very simple. And put it on the 2 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then copy and paste, and then you have a little beat. It actually doesn't sound bad. let's say you wanted to take some high end out of the hi-hat and you really wanted to focus on that one instrument, you hit this S button, this is solo, and anything you put your cursor over, it'll tell you what it is. It's telling me this is the solo button. And then you could even hit this button here to make it a little bit bigger. You could zoom in. Let's say you didn't want to hear a particular instrument anymore, like you're sick of the kick. You don't want to hear the kick anymore. You hit this M button, it stands for mute. Now you have your clap on the right side. You don't have any kick, but let's say you missed the kick, you just hit it again. You have your kick drum back. So we have our basic track here. Let's say we wanted to add a vocal now. Well, you go back to track, you hit new. Vocals are recorded in mono. You hit create. So we have our record track ready to go. I've hit record. It's blinking. It doesn't mean it's recording yet, but we will be doing that soon. Then you go up here, hit this record button, and then play when you're ready to go. I'm just going to do something as an example. Wonderful. That's a smash, as we call it in the music industry. Here's the waveform of what you just recorded. Let's listen back to it only. So we want to solo it. Flawless. But let's make it a bit brighter. Let's make it fit in our song, because as you can hear, right now we can't even hear it, and you don't want to bring it all the way up because that's not going to sound good. So there's a couple things you can do to make your vocal stand out. I'll go over the very, very basic things. On the first little bubble here, you can add an EQ. This is one that I like to use. If this overwhelms you, don't worry, it overwhelms me too. That's why I use presets. Go to Vocals, Voice, Lead Vox. And already it's going to sound a little bit different. I'll A-B it for you. This is what it sounded like before. And this is what it sounds like with this plugin on it. Just a little bit crispier and with more high end. It's going to stick out in your mix a little bit more. But we want to make it a bit louder now, so we compress it. So let's use, this is a great one, CLA 76. Again, don't worry if this stuff looks crazy. Just go to a preset. Presets are your friends. We'll use vocal preset on this black setting here. And here's it without it. Here's it with it. To make it even louder, you take your input and drag it all the way up to here. This is kind of a well-rounded compression ratio. And now when you play it with your song, it sounds a little bit more level. This is going to definitely need some auto-tune on it. I can go over that in a second. So this vocal right now sounds very dry. And a way to make it more wide and more fitting into your mix is to add a reverb to it. So that's what we're going to do right now. You do that first by going to track, hitting new, like we've done with all the other tracks, going to stereo, and an aux input. That's an auxiliary. That's what you're going to feed your reverb to. Choose any reverb you want. I'm going to go with this one. So you have your reverb on your channel, and now you want to go to your input and name it something, because you're going to feed that input onto your vocal track. So let's go with 1 and 2. Let's name it vocal reverb. Something very, very simple, just like that. So these are your insert bubbles. And to the right of the insert, the last F to J insert bubble, you have sends, A to E. Go to your bus, and there's that vocal reverb we just named in the other bubble. Drag the fader up to solo it, to listen to just this. Hit solo. Say you're going for something very ambient, just drag that up all the way. This is what it sounds like with your track right now. Sounds spacious. Going one step further, we could put a delay on it, which would make it sound even wider and cooler. The more effects, the cooler it is. Go to Track, New, Stereo, Aux input once again. You can drag a delay plugin on here. I'm going to use this one. Same thing as the reverb. Go to Input. We have 3 and 4. Name it Delay. And then you go back to your vocal track. Go to your Send. Bus. There's the delay. Drag that up. Solo. Let's check it out. Let me just make it a little bit more obvious. Here we have. It's a long delay. Let's make it a little bit shorter. So now when you hear it, I'll turn this vocal, I'll turn the reverb down like a little bit. This is the vocal with the delay. Goodness gracious, that vocal. You can then blend it with your reverb a little bit more. So you have vocals and reverbs playing at the same time, and it goes really, really well with your song. I don't think there's ever been a time where I haven't put a delay on a vocal. So let's say you're very happy with what you've done and you want to share it with some fellow producers and songwriters. In order to do that, you need to export it, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Everything you want to be heard by others, you highlight, you go to File, Bounce to Disk. Make sure the output is the same thing as what you've been using. Mine always changes for some reason. MP3 is what I use to send demos around. Getting started. Make sure that it's at the same location where you know you're going to get it at your computer. I'm going to bounce it to the desktop. Bouncing. And there you go, it's bouncing. You go to your desktop, and there it is right there. So for all my beginners watching this right now, if this seems a little over your head, don't worry, you're going to acquire a lot more skills as the class goes on. And for all my experts watching this right now, if you're like, oh my God, this seems really easy, this class might not be for me, don't worry, I promise we're going to get into a lot more intricate things. This was just to cover everything for the beginners.